Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio with a little voyage on what it takes to do virtual events right. Now, thinking through what we have been through with COVID-19, we're just about a year into the impact of this global pandemic, and I've actually been working down here in my virtual broadcast studio for almost a year because I realized that the nature of events, conferences, meetings, leadership meetings, the type of thing that I would speak at around the world was going to undergo a very significant disruptive change because the technology has matured, because organizations still need critical leadership insight, and yet we're going to be locked down for quite some time to come. So I began working incredibly hard to align myself with the technology, with the understanding, with the production values, with everything that goes into creating a great virtual event. And it's all happening down here in the virtual broadcast studio. There's a bit of a live shot from up in the ceiling. For the fun of it, I've hung cameras around the room to give people a bit of a perspective as to just what is involved in putting together a rock solid presentation like this. So I've got 10 tips on things that you can do to accelerate and improve the quality of your online virtual events. Number one, come and visit me or visit whatever speaker you are deciding or considering for your virtual event. I like to invite people to come into the studio because it's the best way for you to get an understanding that you can really accelerate what you are doing with your virtual presentations. Both myself and hundreds of speakers worldwide have invested countless hours in putting in place very sophisticated technology to get beyond the basic Zoom call that you see with so many online events. Look, people are zoomed out. People have no attention spans left. They've got a different perspective when they are online. Now, a lot of events have been experimenting with virtual conference software where you're using an avatar to sort of wander around a conference hall. Whether it's Zoom or whether it's an avatar-based system, these types of things don't really appeal to people. What you need to do is you need to work within the square space or rectangular space that you have for the laptops, for the tablets, for the computers that people are accessing your events on, and we need to engage them with visually compelling information. And that's why I encourage people to come and visit. I'll bring you into my studio. We'll have a bit of a tour as to what is possible. And I can give you an overview of the virtual stage sets which I can provide to accelerate your event and really take it to the next level. So that's the very first step. Come and visit. We've been working incredibly hard to accelerate what it is we can do, and it's only by bringing you into the studio that we can truly show you the realm of the possibility, the extent of the opportunity, which is truly in front of you. As part of that, I can give you a tour of the technical setup and what's involved. I mean, this particular setup, I've got 5 cameras, I've got multiple lights, there's computers, the flow, the production values, the integrity of what we can do down here to provide a quality event. Now, I've done a number of online keynotes for audiences of up to 1,000, and the technology has been rock solid. It's worked. This is what you are getting when you're getting involved with someone who has put in the hours, and I figure I've got about 3,000 hours invested at this point in time. So come and visit. That's the very first step. The second step, let's discuss your goals. Clarify the event objectives. Now, in the old world, a lot of organizations were having leadership meetings. The CEO would take their team offsite, and he or she would have some critical issue that they needed to discuss and elevate and move forward on. And that's where they would seek an external topic expert to assist them in understanding that issue. Well, with the impact of the global pandemic, that issue, that reality has not gone away. Organizations are realizing that, they're having to move at speed, they're having to accelerate the capabilities, they're having to innovate faster. This has shifted disruptive trends from an absolutely massive perspective. And I've been talking about that with some of my virtual work, running clips on how has COVID changed your world? How has our future sped up? What is the impact on particular industries in terms of the trends that we've seen in the last year? And certainly what is going to happen in the future is absolutely critical to what you need to do from a leadership perspective. And that's where I'm seeing, a lot of focus on what we can do on finalizing the topic. What is the overall mission of your event? What is the overall goal? What are you trying to accomplish? What is the message? that you need to set with your team. And I see a lot of very interesting search results going through my site. A lot of people searching today for post-COVID trends. People are coming to try to understand what comes next and what should we do about it. How might we see our industry evolve? What trends were in existence before COVID, and how might those be shifting after COVID as we eventually make our way out of this? Another trend that people are focusing on is trends into 2021. People are looking for near-term insight on what's going to happen in the next 9 months, what we need to do, and what we might see as this very complex circumstance continues to unfold. People are searching for issues related to post-pandemic leadership. How do I, as a leader, move my team forward to accelerate, to adjust to the speed which has enveloped our industry? How do we move our organization forward from a leadership perspective to deal with the reality that everything has changed in the last year, and a lot of previous assumptions as to how we could move forward as a slow organization have literally gone out the window. I'm seeing a lot of search engine traffic for resilience and agility. Look, supply chains are broken. I did a talk on supply chain issues last week, and some companies are sourcing products from 2 or 3 different suppliers. The whole idea is if you can get the product, get it when you can, because everything's busted. Organizations are seeking resilience. They're seeking insight on agility. How do we become a fast-moving organization when everything is changing at a staggering speed? I'm seeing a lot of searches around the issue of a longer-term thinking, trends to 2030. This is actually one of the busiest pages on my website today, where I outline what might be going on with a whole wide variety of industries into the year 2030. These are the types of topics that you could be considering as you work to accelerate your organization into the future. I'm seeing a lot of industry-specific searches. For example, the future of agriculture post-COVID. How has the industry changed? What can we expect? How has retail changed as a result of COVID? We know we've seen the acceleration of last-mile delivery technology and curbside pickup and electronic commerce, but what comes after that? So there's a lot of individuals seeking very specific industry insight into what comes next. A lot of individuals searching for general talks, keynotes on the futurist. And that's what I've been doing as a futurist for over 25 years, providing insight into what comes next. So there's an opportunity to clarify the objectives. And that's part of the process by which I can bring you into the studio, not only give you a tour of the magic that happens down here, but have a discussion around what you're trying to accomplish and how I can help you achieve that through a highly customized virtual talk. Then you need to consider the layout. You need to review the potential activities that you might bring into your event. Here's the thing. You know, attention spans have disappeared. People are on Zoom calls for 5, 6, 7 hours a day. They're zoomed out. They're losing their attention span. And so there's a lot of things we can do in terms of accelerating the interactivity of your event. For example, using the capabilities that I have down here, I've been doing a lot of one-on-one interviews where I can actually bring people into the studio, put them up at a big screen, and have a discussion with them around the issues at hand. We can do this with your CEO. We can do this with a particular individual in your organization. We can do this with an external topic expert. This is all part of the innovative things that we can do to deal with the fact that attention spans are different and people are sick of looking at that typical Zoom grid. They're looking for something different in terms of what they can accomplish. And look at the stage set that we have here. Look at the capability that is possible to bring in to a virtual presentation. It's possible to have multiple interview sessions utilizing the same technology that I've integrated into the virtual broadcast studio here. So here's an example where I'm having a discussion with 3 individuals. I've placed them in 3 individual TV screens, and we have a discussion around particular issues at hand. So panel discussions were a big part of corporate events pre-COVID. The opportunity exists to do that. Q&A. There is no shortage of technologies to integrate and enhance your events with sophisticated Q&A capabilities where we have discussions either via typewritten questions or via verbal discussion or other methods to bring in the questions from your participants. Because the thing is, They're bored. They're ready to move away quickly. They're zoomed out. They've got a kid, next to them who's trying to get them, to assist them with their homework. We've got to engage them and give them an opportunity to be a part of the show. Text message polling. I did a lot of text message polling on stage before COVID over a 15-year time span, and it is possible to integrate that into events, and I've worked that into a number of events recently where people are using their cell phones to respond to questions, and the results come up live in real time on the screen. These are all the tools that you can enhance your event. Once we settle on that, it's time to finalize your agenda. It's critical to understand that the process of virtual is very different from what we were doing in our previous face-to-face meeting world, but it's very much the same. And in the traditional meeting and conference industry, you need to consider the role of the professional event planner. These are the individuals with the accelerated skills whose entire role in life is to make sure that your event runs correctly, runs smoothly, that all the details which go with a high-class professional event are hitting the right boxes. This is the point in time where you've got a good understanding of the flow of your event, the components of your event, the content of your event, all the moving pieces to make it work. And here's why this process of finalizing the agenda is so critical, because what you really need to do is you need to consider the tech platform that you might be using for your event. Here's the thing about what is happening with event technology. Everybody's been doing their thing on Zoom, and you're very limited in terms of what you can do with interactivity, with engagement, with audience processing. What's happening in the event industry, not surprisingly, given that we are in a disruptive period of time, is we are seeing an absolute explosion in a huge variety of very sophisticated event technologies, and you need a good understanding of the platforms, the infrastructure, the capabilities, the things that you can use to take your event into the next level of professionalism. Now, I can help you with that because I've been working with a lot of this technology on my own. There's a tremendous flood of new ideas and capabilities out there by which you can do things that you might never really have dreamed were possible. And to give you a very real example, a lot of platforms will let you send out your video feed, your event feed, your conference feed to multiple platforms all at once. And I'm doing that at this very moment in time. What you are watching live here right now is actually being fed to a service called Restream. And it is actually rebroadcasting this feed out to YouTube, out to 2 different Facebook pages, out to Twitter in real time, and out to LinkedIn, and out to a private corporate network. This is the type of technology that is out there. There are so many platforms, there are so many opportunities, there are so many technologies by which you can do more. And part of what you need to do is you need to accelerate your thinking. You need to understand how you can stretch your imagination in terms of the sophistication of the technology platform that you might be using. Once you finalize the agenda and you've settled on a tech platform, it's time to get going. It's time to move to active planning. And here's where virtual events are very different from previous face-to-face events and conferences. It involves way more complex management of process, a management of the live show. Let me give you a case study here. Remember the Emmys, remember the Oscars? There was a very famous video behind the scenes at the Oscars, and it showed what the fellow was doing as the producer to pull together this massive television show, what he was doing in the control booth, out in a trailer in the parking lot in Los Angeles to pull it together. Well, guess what? He's now doing that work to produce the Oscars, the Emmys, from one sophisticated virtual producer screen in his living room. What has happened here is the emergence of a whole new skill, a whole new capability of individuals who are working to put together very sophisticated online events. You need one of these individuals to help your show, to help your event, to help your production go ahead smoothly. We saw this with the Democratic National Convention. We saw it with the Republican National Convention. We saw very sophisticated setups where people were using a lot of technology behind the scenes to manage the video feed that was going out, and to coordinate all of the speakers coming in, to coordinate all of the content. Here's a behind the scenes picture at the DNC last summer of what was involved as the team put together this massive virtual event. This type of expertise is emerging in the online world, and I'm witnessing it firsthand. There's a fellow I know, and I'm actually going to bring him into my reinvention show in a couple of weeks, named Kevin Lyons. And Kevin is an association executive, and he is putting together very detailed 3-day-long conferences for the nursing community that involve an incredibly sophisticated range of technology to take it live, to bring in multiple guests, to have panel discussions, to review PowerPoint decks, to share content, to have audience engagements. And it is an absolute marvel to watch the sophistication that he has put in place. These are the types of individuals that are out there, and you need this level of sophisticated production value, this level of sophisticated production capability to bring this type of quality to your virtual event, because when you do that, you can elevate your event into a realm that is simply staggering. Now, I recently interviewed a meeting professional about what she has done to become a digital event producer. She previously managed large-scale conferences in Las Vegas and elsewhere. She's now migrated her skills to the virtual event world, and that's absolutely critical. You need to discover what's possible. Plan for PR. The next step is to make sure people are aware of your event. They're flooded by virtual events. You want to make sure they sign up. You want to make sure they hit that registration button. You want to make sure that they're going to see so much excitement in your event that they're going to be part of it. And I'm seeing some interesting trends here. I spoke at 2 conferences last year. One was the CAHIIM, a medical conference of accredited medical professionals. The other was the P2PX Expo. What both of these organizations did was they actually, for their virtual event, they ran little pre-events. They ran little separate events in advance of the main event that talked about some of the issues that were going to be covered in the main event, that were used to encourage and tease and entice individuals to sign up in registration. There's no shortage of new ideas that are out there with the whole process and the idea in mind of getting people to sign up to your event. And I've been working to do that now. I was doing that before COVID. For a lot of the keynotes where I would go in and get on stage, I would film a 2 or 3 minute professional video clip that talked about the issues in the room, that would talk about the industry issues that we were going to cover, that would encourage people to think about the issues I would cover in my keynote, and encourage them to sign up and hit the registration form. And these were short, designed to be 2 minutes and 20 seconds so they could be shareable on Twitter. These were used as part of promo campaigns, mail-out campaigns, social media campaigns to get people to hit that registration button. So there is no shortage of opportunities, ideas, imaginative concepts to encourage people to sign up for these events. And you need to do this because we are in a world in which people are inundated with content. Their attention spans are challenged. You need to do something unique to make sure that they want to be a part of your event. Step 9, do a dry run. What we need to do, because there's a lot of moving pieces and there's a lot of distributed technology and people are all over the place, we need to do that dry run. And I've participated in a lot of these where I'm coming in with all my gear and we're walking through the process and we're making sure everything works. Once you do this, you can be extremely confident that your virtual event is going to go extremely well with all the moving parts that are involved. And at that point, you go live. You hit that button, you take a deep breath, your event is ready, you go live, and you know what? It works. People seem to be terrified of going live with a virtual event, but once you do these things, once you establish the content, once you establish the strategic direction, once you do what you need to do, it's just like what we used to do on those big stages in Las Vegas. I would walk out on stage in Las Vegas with a production crew of 100 people behind the scenes. And now in the virtual world, there are an equal number of teams with all kinds of new capabilities to bring you sophisticated concepts with all these moving parts to provide you the clarity and the perception and the reality that you're going to be fine with what you are doing with your virtual event. Look, every list of 10 things has to go to 11. And I think one of the final things you should think about is maybe rethink your entire concept of doing a virtual event. Maybe you need to consider short, sharp shocks of strategic information. Maybe you don't want to do a 1 hour Zoom conference. Maybe you don't want to schedule a full day online virtual event, but maybe what you want to do is you want to film short video clips that you can share with your leadership team on an infrequent basis, once a week. You stretch out this virtual content on the important critical issues that you need to educate your team on, but you stretch it out. And that's a realm of the possibility of what we can do here. Look, way back in 2010, Deloitte South Africa hired me and we filmed a custom video for them. What do world-class innovators do that others don't do? And we put together a 20-minute video that was shared in a variety of methods with their team. And then we cut it up and we shared that over a period of time with individuals. Since then, I've been working on professionally produced, customized videos to accelerate the insight of leadership teams. I work with my overseas video producer, which takes the material which I film in my green screen studio here. We enhance it with relevant content. We enhance it with graphics, and we accelerate your capabilities. When you think about this, if you're thinking about your industry, what can we do to accelerate their thinking in terms of the issues which are out there? And I work with you on a very customized basis to understand the storyline, to develop the script, to take a look at the content, to take a look at the message, to consider the trends, and film something which can be used in short, sharp shocks to accelerate the insight of your team. And I've done so many of these that it's become a very automatic process, and it's actually going virtual. Here's a really good example. Salesforce was participating in a global virtual insurance conference last fall, InsurTech, one of the largest virtual insurance conferences in the world, and they brought me in for a talk on how has COVID changed the insurance industry. And we put together a very concise, professionally produced video production, which was used to provide people insight on that particular topic. So maybe you need to consider that you don't really need to do a virtual event. You need a virtual insight production capabilities. And that's where I would invite you into the home broadcast studio, because we can have a discussion around that as well. Everything you've just seen here is happening here on my green screen wall. I call it my canvas of creativity. I call it the room where ideas in this virtual world come to life. And what I would do is I would encourage you to visit me. We can have a discussion about what you can do to accelerate your virtual event and truly take it into a world of professional production values, customized insight, very concise leadership insight on what you need to do in a world in which the future belongs to those who are fast. I'm going to wander back over here to the desk and check all the systems and make sure they are all good to go. And thank you for watching.